It's almost like rose-tinted spectacles nowadays, thinking about the old school days. Oh, this wrestling game was awesome, I wish I could still play it online. Well, you can, because people don't realise that for 360 games for the most part, the servers were never turned off. No, 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 no. When we got to the 2K era, yes, it was much like FIFA and EA servers. A new FIFA comes out, old server goes away. New FIFA comes out, that server goes away. It wasn't the case for WWE in the THQ days. So I have found 10 wrestling games, a few of which are not WWE, which are still fully playable online. So, hello you, it's my yard here, and here are the 10 wrestling games that are still available online to play on the Xbox 360. Before we get to the list, I just want to self-promote the WWE Retro Games Discord that I have set up so you can play not just the old school games, but also games that are available to play on Parsec through emulation, like WWE All-Stars, Here Comes the Pain, PS2 wrestling games, and all that jazz. Join the Discord and we can set up some lovely games. Don't forget that I also live stream these wrestling games every Sunday, so you can play them online with me as well. Every single game on this list will be live streamed. So, a little background before we delve into each individual title. Every single 360 game that I have selected for this list has been personally vetted by me. I have either gone and checked the leaderboards, or I have manually had my own matches online on that game. Some of them of which have been streamed online, of course. But with some of them, because of sheer lack of people wanting to do it, we have only been able to manage it, to work it out through the leaderboard system. But if the leaderboard system is still up, the main servers to play, and that's normally because of a peer-to-peer aspect. You can use your own internet connection to host other players to play against you. The server is there more as a lobby system to get you to find matches. The server games are not played on their machine. They process all the results on your host, and then you send the results to the lobby system. So very little bandwidth gets used on a server. This is why these servers are mostly still up. Thanks, GameSpy. I'm also obviously not counting games such as WWE 2K19 or 2K20 where the servers are still fully up for the moment, not to mention games that can be played through emulation such as Here Comes the Pain, All-Stars, all those games that can be played through emulation through Parsec, which is a phenomenal thing. If you've not got Parsec, you should download it and be able to play it with us. Those games aren't counted. We're talking about true online servers that are available to just hop on and play without any funny business. Bar, of course, an Xbox 360 and Xbox Live membership and the game. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2007 on Xbox 360. Yes, the server is still available to play online. Yes, you have a lot of different match options as well. Granted, max of only 4 players. It was a few years before we get into a 6-player territory, but we'll get to that point. But you can have custom titles online. Yes, Creative Championship and title matches were available in this title and later titles. But you could have Buried Alive, First Blood, Hardcore, Hell in a Cell, Elimination Tag. Yes, you could have tag team belts online as well. Parking Lot Brawls. And because this was the first 360 WWE game as well, we got the sort of next-gen experience. PS2 obviously got it as well, but the 360 version, dare I say, is the better version, of course, for obvious reasons. We have the Hell in a Cell that's just really, really tiny, that barely does anything on the outside, but you could just smash the door open in one go to get out. So, I mean, all good and fair is love and war. And of course, you had the backstage sort of brawling part of the outside area where you could do crazy stuff like climb the scaffold and splash them off the top of the scaffold to the table, unless you're Abyss, because I created him and he has no distance. But, now I say, it had loads of good little areas, little hidden things you could find by dragging your opponents into certain environmental objects. Even grabbing stuff from the crowd and splashing your opponent onto signs and items that they had lurking about. Or just put them through a table. Smackdown vs. Raw 2008 was next year's title, obviously by the name, and again online was restricted to 4 players despite having elimination chamber matches for years. But you had leaderboards like 07, and I'd just like to spend a little moment and show how much of the noobs of these people were over the years, that every year we go on leaderboards and get max out stats by using dummy accounts to try and win, get 5,000 wins, 6,000 wins, 9,000 wins, a million wins, and no losses, because they really wanted to show off their ego that they can actually grind for no benefit. There was no reason to be number one, there was no reason for the leaderboards in the first place. It is a general game. If you wanted a competitive game, like using a chess sort of scoring system, that would have made perfect sense, but no. Wins, points, yeah, woohoo. Idiotic. And it happened for year on to year. So let's talk about the game itself, shall we? 08 decided to use a sort of class system. You could be 2 classes for each character, and they can each have special traits. Brawlers were able to do a Fist of Fury to do 3 strikes in a row. People like Randy Orton could do dirty moves. Showstoppers could steal finishers. High flyers could do stupid things like this. Anywho, I don't rate this game highly, to be honest, as well as a few of the other ones on the list, but for a nice change of pace from 2K20, it itches the feathers. But let's go for a non-WWE game that still works on the 360, because there is a few of them, and this one will be quite surprising. Rumble Roses XX, the sequel to the original PS2 title by Konami, but also developed by Yuke's. Yes, the same Yuke's that do the Smackdown vs. Raw series. So it's unsurprising that if the Smackdown games were going to be still available, that this was also going to be the case as well. And that is absolutely the case. Looking at, you can download photos that are pretty much not safe for work. On top of that, the servers are still there with the leaderboards and everything. But this is one game I've not been able to play online because, quite frankly, no one really owned the game in the Western regions originally, let alone nowadays. So to be able to play this online, we'll need a very small select amount of people to play it. But if the servers are still up, we're good. And this game was actually pretty decent, a bit clunky in places, but overall, if you ignore the naked ladies, you have a fundamentally good wrestling game. For a start, they're starting with this sort of Fire Pro diagonal ring action camera angles, which is different and makes it its own unique entity. With the Yuke's engine, the move set, you can recognize a lot of familiar moves from the WWE Smackdown games, but maybe with a slower approach, a more methodical approach in terms of their system. Pinfalls are just by button bashing, submissions are done by button bashing, but will last a lot longer. Then you've got the Virtua Fighter matches, where it's much like UFC doing their 5 hits of doom, get their health all the way off, and they're dead. Tag teams and double team moves can be done by simultaneously pressing the same combination at the same time when you both have a finisher, which means you can do awesome moves. And there is some stellar move animations in this game. There's stuff like the one-winged angel from an electric chair proper position. There is awesome animations, and it's fully recommended if you want to see the more extreme animation style of the wrestling games, then Rumble Roses is definitely for you. Again, if you ignore all the naked ladies. Back to WWE now, and we've got WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2009. This one pretty much was highlighting all about tag team matches. Yeah, that was their big scoop. New tag team animations and moves and everything, the foundations of how tag team matches were going to work, which in fairness continues even up to 2K20. You see certain animations like this one are still in the game. Hot tags pretty much are still in the game as well, and other cool similar mechanics started from Smackdown vs. Raw 2009. But for all the good things that this game brought us, it brought us so much of an annoyance as well. First, of course, was the Fist of Fury stayed in the game, but everyone could do it now. Well, that was a fantastic feature to include. I mean, that didn't cause brokenness anywhere. And the second thing was the creative finisher. Great thing to have, bad thing to have online when they found exploits such as this. Yep, do you remember the nightmares you had when you played this game? Didn't matter what health you were on, since they got a finisher, they just made you get to red and dead. Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers. But for all the bad stuff, there was still cool stuff like the highlight reel, and after 12 years, funnily enough, found someone's highlight reel. So let's just give it a watch and see what could be done back in 2009.
One, two, three!
If only it was the end, because in the same 12-month calendar year, we had Legends of Wrestlemania. So not only did we get one bad game, we got two in a year. This one allowed you to import your superstars in Smackdown vs. Raw 2009 as well, so you could have double the roster and have epic encounters such as Kofi Kingston versus the classic Undertaker. Yeah, it's just a shame they chose to do a different grapple system and mechanic system using the same engine and quick time finishers, because they thought the hot tag system would work well as finishers, and no, it was just terrible. And they had so many fundamentally could work game modes such as Hell in a Cell, where you start at the top of the Hell in a Cell, and we thought, oh my god, that's awesome, until you realise you can either put them through the cell or throw them off. You couldn't do both in a match. You weren't allowed to climb back up again, so they pretty much removed so much out of the mode. Oh dear, I mean, you just don't know what they were thinking. In principle, could have worked really well. It's just a shame this engine was an absolute pile of poo. If we got the sort of unrestricted aspect of the SmackDown vs. Raw games where we could do cool stuff anywhere, wherever we liked, it would have probably been a lot better. Or even just had that Legends roster with the same engine. It wouldn't have been as bad. Cool, we got cool stuff like hidden thumbtacks for Hell in a Cell as well. And then you can perform your moves of doom on them, on that thumbtacks. He's on the thumbtacks, oh you sadistic son of a gun. Otherwise, this game is terrible. If you play this online, I don't know what's wrong with you. Seriously, do not know what's wrong with you. Why would you still play this game online? There is no reason to play this game online. Please, yes, there is the option to play this game online, but for the love of God, you're going to have to pay me to play it. We move on a year now with SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, and we start to get a new look, a new feel for the game. And again, the online servers are still up on this game as well. It's absolutely crazy. Booyaka 619, as it were. You start in the training facility where you can have matches on the fly with two people straight off the bat. You don't have to do an expedition match. You are green and you can face red immediately in the training facility. It's something that was never heard of before. When it came to online, there were still weekly leaderboards, and weekly, so much so that whether this is a bug or not, I do not know, but there was 8 people playing last week at the time of this recording, and someone has 796 wins, someone has 796 losses. I wonder what happened there. Hey. Conversely, the losses don't equal the amount of wins, so who's to say? But still, thanks for showing what accounts you've been using to grind. Anywho, gameplay was vastly different to 2009. In a good way, a positive way, is what we more experienced. A bit slower compared to WWE 12 and 13, etc. But a nice methodical pace. And who does that benefit, King? Us as a player normally. We also got some new backstage arenas as well on Championship Scramble. KOing people as well by using the ultimate control moves helped out, especially if you just did the one punch of death. Yeah, just the one tiny little punch. Boom. KO! One of my personal favourites, SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, is pretty much the pinnacle of this era of the SmackDown vs. Raw franchises, even though it was the last on the SVR games, because obviously we went to WWE 12 after this. And not only did we obviously get the training facility upgraded with letting you choose any superstars and stuff. You could also have unlimited finishers, of course, why not? In an empty arena, looked cool. But the match options and what they changed because of the physics engine was great. Hell in a Cells got upgraded, tables got upgraded, ladders, the physics was just awesome. But from an online perspective, it was the first time we were able to go from 4 players to 6 on the Xbox. Which, again, was a big deal because we couldn't do Armageddon Hell in a Cells, we couldn't do Championship Scrambles, the big tornado tag matches that we would love to do, Elimination Chamber of course as well. There was tons of modes that we weren't able to do online that we finally could properly in SVR 2011. 10 years ago now, and yes, the physics engine didn't always work with the tables, but when it did work, especially with steel steps and ladders lying down, it was phenomenal. Ouch. Of course, getting up really quickly by no selling also was, dare I say, one of the flaws of the whole era. Unlike nowadays where you would stay down for half a minute if you get hit by big moves. Not so much in this game. It was still arcadey mixed with this little bit of realism. This may be the last SmackDown vs Raw game, but it's not the last WWE game on our list that still works online for the 360. No, no, no. We have to do a little trick to make this work for the next one. Now for WWE 12 we have to do a little trick. Yes, because the servers were told to be shut off. But there is a workaround to fix this problem because they're hidden by a simple button bash. Yes, when you press the A button to go to Xbox Live, I want you to continually press that button. It won't always work every single time, as you can see in this example, but eventually, button bash enough times, the server will migrate and you'll be able to bypass the error message and go straight into the online lobby. It's what we did to do 40-man Royal Rumbles. Yeah, we can have up to 12 people playing a Royal Rumble match, yes, but we need the people into it. So make sure you follow us on Discord and eventually one day we'll get to do it and that'll be awesome. Gameplay wise, I think I still prefer 2011 to WWE 12 because WWE 12 went a lot more faster paced. The physics engine disappeared to most extent as well, which was such a shame because the physics engine was phenomenal in 2011. But the gameplay was smooth and methodical. So it wasn't a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, it was just that SVR 2011 cooks it up in spades. And it has been the game I've played the most online out of all the lists so far. That will probably change over time, as you can see from other choices that we have available to us. But still, when you get good sequences and good people to play against, you're always going to have some awesome matches. When you don't, it's cheap as chips. I mean, it's people being methodical, cheap, glitching, hackers, all that jazz, which was phenomenally the case in all the online titles in THQ era. And they never penalised people for it. That was the problem. Had they penalised people, a lot more people would have stayed on the games for a lot longer. But if you find the right people, you're never going to be stuck for problems. Just saying. And you sometimes get cool animations. Boom, bam, 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 bam. Wake him up. The wake up taunts, yeah, they were a WWE 12 feature. And the RKO for good measure. But now, our next listing is not WWE at all. No, it's a rival. You are, I am. Yes, TNA Impact on the Xbox 360. The server still exists. I'm just going to show you now that the leaderboards are still there. You can create matches still, and it creates them no problem. So it's all up in there, and you could be AJ Styles, you could be Kurt Angle, you could be Kevin Nash, Brother Ray, as among other WWE alumni that appeared in TNA Impact. And there was a lot of good things going on for this game. It's just a real shame that this was rushed out before Midway's collapse because it had so much potential. And you can see 215 wins, 4 losses, no disconnections, by the way. I will on the point I didn't disconnect and cheat, unlike most people. Yeah, if you disconnected, you didn't get a loss, you just didn't get a win. Yep, so that's why a lot of people were undefeated or very high in the rankings, but not me. I was actually good at the game. Downside was you couldn't do anything other than a 1v1 match, so that was a standard, a falls count anywhere submission, or the good mode of Ultimate X. climb the wires, get to the middle, and get exactly into the middle several times to grab that X and win the match. Something that sort of happens now with the WWE games with the wheel, where you have to time the wheel exactly, but this was just with a button press. Do it several times to win. Love the mode, love the potential that this game had. There was more promise, like King of the Mountain and stuff, but it just never came to be. Instead, we got WWE All-Stars, but that's not a playable online except with parsecs, so hey ho, you can't win them all. Still good to play, and I hope to play this online properly sometime soon, so please join the Discord. Our last game, however, is one that I actually don't know for certain. Yes, I lied. Number 10 is one of those games that has the potential to still be online. It's just, it's so scarce, I doubt anyone would want to play it anyway. Developed by Yuke's, it's Wrestle Kingdom for the Xbox 360 now. Because it's a Yuke's game, and every other Yuke's title, including Rumble Roses and all the Smackdown vs. Raws, are still available online, and it came from that era, this game should still be available to play online. It was an Xbox Live game when it came out. The problem is, it's Japanese only. It was not region free. It was locked to Japan. So we're not unable to play it on a PAL console. So I would need to buy the game, which is actually quite expensive still, buy a Japanese console, which is semi-expensive, just to try this out. And quite frankly, I'm too skint to do that. So if you live in Japan or know someone that has this combination and you would like to confirm or deny the rumours that I'm suggesting right now, please let me know in the comment section below, because this is basically Day of Reckoning with Japanese superstars, and emerald versions and burning lariats, Mongolian chops and brain busters, and all that cool stuff that we like in a wrestling game. So if you know, please let me know in the comment section below. And that's your lot, guys. 10 wrestling games on the 360 that online are still fully functional, apart from community creations, for your pleasure. If you want to play these games online, go get your bodies, go get your 360 dusted off, and come and join us. Follow us on the Discord. Make sure to like and subscribe for more WWE gaming and wrestling game goodness, because I'll give you all the juiciness of this for months to come. See you later.